What's up, nerds? Welcome back. Today I'm talking about Crush and Lobo number 3, an issue with an ending so predictable I almost feel insulted for having read it. Okay, so if you remember from the last issue, what's going on with all of this bullshit is for some reason right now, Lobo is in prison and he's doing this whole thing where apparently he's going through therapy now, and now he wants to reach out to his long lost daughter and make amends. So she, for whatever reason, decided after her most recent breakup with her girlfriend that she's going to go and visit him, and that's where we left off last time. So we pick up this issue because if you remember at the end of last issue as well, Lobo was getting ready to go to his latest therapy session, like his group therapy and shit. So he shows up to that, and that's actually where we open up, where we have this like giant mantis type of alien talking about like his struggles with his family, and it's all just basically like a long drawn out thing about how how praying mantises, like the female will eat the head of the male, like I think after they mate or something like that. So yeah, that's what he's saying. But he's saying that he's an only child as well because his parents ate his sibling's head and then his mom ate his dad's head. So we finish it up by doing this. And that's okay. We're mantidae creatures from a planet of carnivores. We eat heads. That's our deal. Oh god. All right. So of course, then we have to have the robot therapist do that whole bullshit of, yes, but how does that make you feel? And then he's like, honestly, lonely. Oh, God. The only tears here are my own for having read your ridiculous ass story, Mariko Tamaki. But anyway, Lobo says, you know what, inmate 2412, your honesty is inspiring. And then he just says like he's nervous or whatever, and that he's seeing his kid today, so it's a lot. But then, please look at this. If you are not looking at the screen while you're watching this, look at it now. Look at what Lobo is doing. He goes up to him, puts his arm around him, or like around his head, really, and then he kind of like tells him, "This is the hard work." No, reading this is the hard work. So anyway, the robot tells him this leads us into our next related subject, which is how can we heal and not eat our families? So now we finally get back over to Crush, and she starts it out by saying, "Oh, look, it's me in prison." To absolutely no one's surprise. Yeah, no shit, crackhead. We just followed your whole journey up to this point for the last 2 issues. If you had just gone from like you being on Earth and then you dropping into prison in the next issue, then you could definitely be like, oh, look, I'm in prison, to no one's surprise. But the fact that we followed you going on your journey to prison, yes, no one is surprised that you're there. So, anyway, she says, actually, it's less prison and more an intergalactic stronghold for the universe's very worst and most violent offenders. Just visiting my biological father, who was convicted of metric tons of destruction and carnage in many different cosmos. So then all of a sudden we see the like mantis dude's like kid or whatever comes up, and he starts, just kind of talking to her and says, I guess you're here for Parents' Day too? Cool, cool. So awkward, right? And she's just like, NBD, no issues whatsoever. She's not actually talking to him, she's just thinking. And then she's like, also, this is definitely not the time for, yes, you guessed it. And it even says another ridiculous relationship flashback. So I mean, we got that in here. And as it says, yeah, this definitely wasn't the time for this. But I guess we're supposed to think like, oh, isn't that fun and quirky that they just went ahead and shoved one in anyway? So it's basically just like this flashback where she was, it looks like kind of captured by some aliens or something. But oh, darn it, don't you know she's supposed to be on a dinner date to meet her girlfriend's parents. And her girlfriend is saying like, dinner is now. And this is like the third time we've tried to set this up. Well, don't you just hate it when life gets in the way like that? Ugh. If I tell you, if I had $1 for every time some quirky thing happened, like getting abducted by aliens when I'm supposed to be on a dinner date, my God. The heaps of relatability. So anyway, she says, Katie, I'm like, there's aliens holding me captive, and I'm sort of saving the universe, pretty much. So, I mean, otherwise, I would totally be, and then like her like cuffs or whatever fall off. So anyway, she goes from there to basically just like pretending like she's not on the phone, and then she says, "I'll call when I get back," or "free, bye," and then she hangs up. And then we come back to the present, where apparently, if you will remember, the Mantis people apparently have this thing where they try to apparently just try to eat anybody's head. So while they're sitting there, and when Crush finally gets called to go see her dad, she's not really paying attention because like he starts going in to eat her head, and then all of a sudden she realizes like, oh, that's me, as she like grabs his neck and like kind of chokes him out. So normally shit like that would be kind of funny to me, but at the same time I was like, why would he be trying to eat her head though? Like, don't they just eat each other's head? I don't know. Anyway, so she's like, okay, here we go, the big moment. So finally we get this big, Lord, I don't know why we needed a splash page of this. Like, it's, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, there's nothing exciting about them just staring each other down. You know what I mean? So she's like, hey, Lobo. And he says, Crush, long time no see. And then she says 2981, huh? Because that's his number or whatever. And then he says, that's my name. Don't wear it out. Ha 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 ha. And she says, okay. And he's like, safe trip. Like I said, this is all so boring. And then she says, had a little run in, but yeah. And then he asks her if she's hungry. He says, they have a cafeteria here. Food is crap. To which she's like, well, sounds appealing. So they have these robots come over and do this thing where they like scan them. And she's like, what is all of this? And he's like, oh, yeah, because of like how high security this is, they're constantly checking us to make sure, we're not doing anything. So it checks both of them to make sure she's a visitor, he's an inmate, and all that shit. That should obviously be your first clue that these are going to be how there's going to be a switcheroo later on. So she's like, yeah, because he says it's a bioscan. So she's like, seems like. So what else you guys got going on? Spa facilities? He says there's a weekly bio rinse. And then they both just say, so. I don't even know what else I can say. Like, this is just so painful to have to sit through. Like, I get that that's supposed to be the point. And again, this is one of those scripts that's written as though we're actually seeing actors portray this. The thing is, if you're just going to have your artist draw these things, the artist, like, these are drawn beautifully, but it doesn't really convey the sense of like awkwardness that you're trying to put across through us that we would get from real life people, seeing them kind of like fidget around and just kind of like, looking around. Like, that would give us that sense. But you're trying to do it in a comic book format, and it's literally just static pictures of people drawn in. So what they actually had to do here to make it somewhat visually interesting was put something in the background. They have this interaction where apparently someone in the back ends up having like an argument at their table, and then the inmate starts fighting with one of the therapist's robots or guards or whatever the hell, and then they have to like restrain him and shit, and they start beating the hell out of him. Like, that's what happens in the background. Like I said, to try and make something here interesting, because it's just people talking. And we already know what the whole setup was here. Lobo got her to come down here so that way he can switch places with her and leave her in here so he can get out. We already know that's the setup, and that's exactly what ends up happening. The only thing I didn't know was, how exactly are they going to do it? And yes, they do it in the dumbest way possible. Because anyway, he keeps talking. They don't really talk about anything all that interesting. He kind of like tries to sell her on the whole like therapy bullshit. He says, I'm not going to lie, this therapy stuff they've got is doing in here, I didn't trust it, but it's mandatory or you get the full lobotomy, which normally I would be into because what the hell. But then it also seemed possible it would turn me into a lump, so I chose this. No, it wouldn't. You would literally just regenerate, dude. Anyway, it's been some time, and I think maybe this therapy crap isn't crap. I see what being who I am does to anyone around me. The cycles, they call it. You're the only person in this universe that I could even possibly give a nut about, who I would have even a speck of interest in helping not repeat my shit. So, Again, obvious lies and just terrible setup for what we know is coming. And here's where we finally get it. He reaches out to like touch her hand, which I was like, what is he going to do? So he says, I get to watch a part of me be free. What do you say? And then she's doing the internal monologue where she's like, I'd say this is not a good idea. I'd say this is end of family movie nightmare crap. I'd say the possibility of my dad wanting to go on a journey for emotional discovery with his daughter is number 2 on my list of things that will never, ever happen. But maybe I'm in no position to judge someone who treats the people in his life like shit. And we get this like weird look from him. And then she's like, fine. So he's like, awesome. Yeah, this is great. And he like squeezes her hand. She's like, easy, old man. So, and then all of a sudden she gets up and she decides, oh, you know what? I am going to go and get some food or whatever. And if you're looking at this, like, yes, you will notice that is absolutely like a fully buff dude's body drawn with her smallish head on top of it. Does not look convincing at all. So anyway, she walks away and she's like, be right back. And then inside she's like, WTH. And he's like, later. And then, of course, like I said, the robot comes over, scans him, and is like, scan confirmed. Yeah, scan confirmed, visitor. So he's like, heh, yep. And he just proceeds to literally walk right on out. And you might be wondering, well, how does nobody notice? Because apparently all of the guards are just robots. Like apparently none of the guards are able to recognize him unless it's by bioscan. Like they aren't able to recognize, oh, he's obviously wearing prisoner's outfit or anything. Or, oh, that's obviously Lobo. No, they only go by bioscan. They don't have a picture of him, nothing. So she's going to try and get like a snack or whatever from the like snack machine and shit, which apparently, yes, they do have just regular vending machines out here. So she's looking for what she wants. And then all of a sudden, while she's doing that, like some more of those robots come up and one of them scans her. And this time, of course, like I said, now it thinks she's Lobo. So it scans her and says that she inmate is out of bounds. She's like, what the? So of course they like immediately come to subdue her, and like out of nowhere they just like swarm her and shit. So she's like, this was the weird thing. They come up and say, easy, little girl, you make a bad move, we will end you. And she's like, little girl? Which I do have to agree. Why would you call her a little girl? But secondly, like, I don't know why that specifically is something that has to set her off so much. Because she says, is that what you'll do, Mr. Robot Prison Guard? And in her monologue, she says, yeah, there's just a short list of things that if anyone calls me, I gotta hurt them. And apparently, little girl is on the list. So she says that's a huge personality flaw or whatever. So she starts trying to fight with them, but it really doesn't amount to much of anything. Because, of course, as you can imagine, she does get taken down. So it says enact full sector security charge. And she's like, oh, what? So basically, I guess it like tases the shit out of her. So she kind of like wakes up in this chair and everything. And then we see intercut with like Lobo just kind of like making his way out. And then we do see here where they had to drop in this thing where, again, I guess we were supposed to find this funny. Where like the son comes and meets the dad. And even though they're supposed to be like monitored and shit, he's able to eat his dad's head. And so Lobo's even standing there like seemed inevitable. So he walks out literally again out the front door, walks by all of these like droids and guards and shit, and nobody stops him because again, nobody has a picture of him. As far as they're concerned, according to bioscans, he's in prison, even though they can literally see him. So because they don't have a picture of him, he's able to just literally walk out the front door and shit. Wearing half of his like inmate like uniform or whatever the hell they're called. So we come back over to there and then see, this is where we do finally see they do have a picture of him, like a full body scan of him, but obviously that's not her, but they're just gonna roll with it. So she's trying to tell him like, I'm not 29 whatever the hell or whatever, I'm not Lobo, I'm not a prisoner, I'm 2981's kid. And then she's like, what was it he said? A part of me. The only other Zarnian in the known universe. Probably enough DNA crossover to screw with their bioscan. If he could plant his stupid monitor chip on me, he could use me to fucking escape. And that's what we're seeing. Like, this is where apparently he transferred his biochip to her through the handshake. by just squeezing her hand really hard. So that's what I'm saying. Like, how did he even do that? Seriously, how did that even work? It was just a handshake. I don't know. But apparently, we're supposed to be given to just accept that, and then we cut over to like Lobo, who's like free now. So he goes to take this dude's car and shit, and then he takes off, and then we see where now Crush is in prison, and literally, the kid that ate his dad's head is also now in there because he ate his dad's head. So he's like, "Hey, it's me, guy from the lobby. Small world. Looks like we're roommates. Did you eat your dad's head too? That would be a weird coincidence." Yeah. So she's just like, "Damn it." And then it says, "Thus bringing an abrupt end to another chapter of Crush. Yes, this is where they're leaving me. Nice, huh? See you next month." So, yeah, that's where we get from that. Like, this whole... It was so, like, this... Never mind, like I said, the obvious setup that I saw coming a mile away. With that whole, like, oh, Lobo wants me to come and visit him for therapy. I was like, well, that's an obvious setup. Like, you didn't even have to tell me that was a setup for me to know that was a setup. So, and then the only thing I was wondering was like, okay, how is he actually going to work out either convincing her to help him break out or just using her to break himself out? And that was what it was. He shook her hand and transferred the biochip. And then, despite the fact that they have full body scans of him, nobody was ever able to figure out that, oh, wait a minute, that guy's a prisoner. It's the worst setup in the world. It really is. This is so stupid. And this is 3 of 8. Honestly, I feel like it should have been 3 of 3. Leave her in prison and then just leave like Lobo out there running around. I'd be willing to accept at least that. But no, that's not where we're ending. We're going to see how she's going to break out and what comes from that next. So, I don't know. We'll see. So, yeah, I guess the only thing that was actually truthful here was the cover where she's wearing this. So, this is about the level of respect that they have for literally anybody that reads these comics nowadays. Like, this is, like I said, it's pretty much insulting if you actually read this. You should have seen this coming the minute you started the story. You should have known how it was going to end. So, I don't know. I guess maybe we'll see what ends up happening and how she breaks out. I say we because I don't know if I'll actually want to like pick up the rest of this series. It's so goddamn bad. Like the only thing they're trying to sell this on is like these covers and everything to make Lobo look badass, but all the rest of it is just terrible. Just terrible. But I don't know. If anybody out there is bothering to keep up with this, do feel free to let me know what you think about this series down below. What did you think about that setup? How did you think the whole handshake thing played out? Did you buy that? Would you buy that? I don't know. Yeah, do feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like the video, subscribe, and make sure that you're sharing out the video if you do want to help my channel grow. But if you guys are done here, then go and read a book. Definitely not that one. But if not, then I will see you on my next video.